guys? Welcome back to the channel. Sorry, it looked like my audio wasn't working for a second there. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome if you are new here. Appreciate you guys joining me today and waiting patiently, as always, for the intro to finish up Press X podcast, or Press Cross podcast if we're being technical. I see there's a little bit of breaking news here regarding Sucker Punch. Second day in a row. Got a topic lined up, ready to go, deep discussion. Boom, something else comes out. You're here for boss? Well, he's here for you guys too. He's right here. I'm sure you can see him at the bottom of the screen, and there he is. Yep. You said his name. Did the mic change? Oh. Sorry about that. We should be good now. Apologies. My PC's been acting a little weird. Yeah, sorry about that. Okay, welcome back. There we go. Welcome back. Everything's good now. My camera wasn't working either. That's why I was a little bit late. Because I noticed like my camera was just turned off, and I'm like, why? So I had to mess with that. Sounds like the Ghost series is coming to an end. I know. Another breaking news story. Well, guys, I do appreciate you joining me today. The main topic of discussion today is going to be about Marathon. I'll read this post that was put out by PlayStation, and maybe there's more to dig into with that. Maybe we could talk about it tomorrow. I'll at least relay the news here and give my just an initial reactionary thoughts. Oh, it's a blog. Really? Okay, I didn't realize it was a blog post. It's quite significant. I guess this is one of those things where Sucker Punch says it's a new chapter. That's fascinating. Fascinating. Yeah, it's hard not to read into that, you know? What does it mean? It feels like we're getting a few answers for a couple of things. But the main topic of discussion today is going to be about Marathon, because yesterday when I went live, where I was talking about my game of the year and my top 5 games that I played in 2025, as soon as I went live, Bungie essentially re-revealed Marathon officially after quite some time. And we now have a release date as well as their new vision for the game. But we also have like a 20-minute video documentary that was put out, I guess, explaining everything, all the changes they made. And so we're going to be covering all that today. And we're going to be asking a question. Well, at least I'm going to be asking it. And I can't answer it, obviously, but I can only give my thoughts on it. I can only give my opinion. And that is, will Bungie be able to pull this off? Will Marathon be able to actually win people over? Or is it simply too late? Are they going to be a day late and $1 short? I can't actually determine this yet because I haven't watched the video. So we're going to react to that in a little while. But I guess we will start out with the Sucker Punch news that just came out. And I guess we'll take it from there. But before I go any further, I do want to thank everybody for joining me today. If you're a regular, appreciate you being here once again. If you're new, welcome. Stick around. Hopefully you end up enjoying the podcast episode. And I want to ask you guys to please take a moment, if you could, and hit that like button. Let me know you enjoy the podcast streams. Let me know that you want more help with YouTube's algorithm. You can support the channel, of course. Why would people support plagiarism? Wes, I don't think it's that anybody's supporting plagiarism. I think people made it pretty clear that they're not supporting plagiarism. Truthfully. I mean, Bungie got crushed under that, but they sorted it out. They did what needed to be done. It sounds like the artist got paid a lot. That's my assumption. They're very happy now. So we're going through changes. There's a new PlayStation 6 handheld leak from Moore's Law is Dead. Really? Okay. All right, we'll have to save that as well. Maybe that could be a topic for tomorrow, depending on depending on what he leaked. Yeah, no, for real, Wes. The artist, who was it? Anti-Real posted on their Twitter account. They said that there was a settlement reached between them and Bungie. Now they had to be very careful about what they. It was clearly written by a lawyer, but it's been taken care of, and that makes sense. I had a feeling when they put that statement out that we were close to a re-reveal because that stopped the marketing of Marathon dead in its tracks, which makes sense. You get caught plagiarizing your marketing, especially from an artistic point of view, like your marketing is cooked. They have to overhaul it. Let me go to this Sucker Punch announcement here. Before I do, guys, if you want to support the channel, there's a couple of ways you can do that. We're completely fan-funded here. I can only do what I do on the channel because you guys make it possible. We have an awesome community here, and I really appreciate everything you do for us. You can become a channel member, gain access to some exclusive perks. We're going to be doing a Christmas special Morning with the Misses this Thursday. So if you're a member, please look forward to that. If that sounds interesting to you, consider becoming a member. Consider gifting memberships. If we hit 25, we'll feed the beast, give Boss a couple treats. You can drop a super chat, direct donation. These are all ways in which you can support. Can I promote my PSN account? Get some friends on my friends list? I mean, yeah, you're allowed to do that, digital dude. Wait, what's your PSN name? Hold on. Knowing you, it's something completely chaotic. Let me go check out this Sucker Punch situation. Let's see. Twitter's loading really slow. Okay, so on the official PlayStation X account, they say our deepest thanks and gratitude to Sucker Punch Productions co-founder Brian Fleming, who is handing over the leadership reins as the studio begins a new chapter starting January 1st. Longtime creative and technical leaders Jason Connell and Adrian Bentley will step into new roles as studio heads, continuing to guide the team's focus on ambitious, character-driven experiences that define PlayStation Studios. The next chapter begins as Sucker Punch ushers in new leadership for the future of the studio. After nearly 3 decades helping bring to life iconic franchises like Sly Cooper, Infamous, Ghost of Tsushima, and Ghost of Yotei, Brian Fleming has announced he's passing Sucker Punch studio leadership to a new generation. Over the past year, Brian has worked closely with PlayStation Studios to ensure that Sucker Punch was in the best hands moving forward with a strong foundation for the studio's continued success. Starting January 1st, longtime creative and technical leaders Jason Connell and Adrian Bentley will step into new roles as studio heads, continuing to guide the team's focus on ambitious, character-driven experiences that define PlayStation Studios. Jason and Adrian have been instrumental in shaping the creative and technical direction of Sucker Punch in recent years. Jason, who served as co-creative director on the Ghost franchise, has helped define the studio's visual identity and storytelling style, bringing cinematic depth and emotional resonance to PlayStation players around the world. Adrian, as technical director, has led the studio's engineering and production efforts, driving innovation across development tools and game systems that make Sucker Punch's worlds so immersive. Together, they represent the perfect blend of creative vision and technical excellence that has always set the studio apart. Nate Fox will continue as co-creative director to complete the overall creative leadership team. Brian's vision and leadership have shaped the studio's culture of creativity and collaboration and established a foundation that Jason, Adrian, and the entire team will build on as they look to the future. Now, finally, it says, a longstanding member of PlayStation Studios, Sucker Punch has been part of the PlayStation family since 2000, consistently delivering unforgettable worlds and beloved characters to players around the world. From Sly Cooper's playful charm to the bold cinematic storytelling of Ghost, the studio's commitment to innovation and quality continues to set the standard for what makes PlayStation experiences unique. As Sucker Punch moves forward under Jason and Adrian's leadership, the team remains dedicated to crafting new adventures that capture the imagination of players everywhere. So there we go. That's the entire write-up for Sucker Punch. And we have Henry 3K, a member for 32 months. Henry, thank you for being a longtime member, buddy. You're saying, everyone remember when Bungie still went ahead with the Twitch stream after they were found out stealing art? The chat was cursed. Poor devs. I do remember that. That was a dark day for Bungie. That was really bad. Yeah, we must forget at this point. We have to forget. So yeah, let's take a moment to talk about this before we move on to Marathon. What's going on with Sucker Punch? What does this mean? What can we extract from this? Well, this reminds me very much of what we got recently from Insomniac. I think it was either earlier this year or late last year. I can't remember the exact timing. But for those of you who may have forgotten, Insomniac had a very similar situation happen where Ted Price, the founder of Insomniac and the director and CEO there, he was stepping down, and they decided to promote like 3 different individuals from Insomniac to kind of, I guess, run the studio together. Like they basically have 3 different studio heads. And now it seems like Sucker Punch is doing something very similar where they are going to now have multiple people. I mean, they're focusing on Jason Connell and Adrian Bentley, but they also mentioned Nate Fox is still going to be a big part of this. But those 2 that I just mentioned, they're the new heads of the studio. And I'm not really sure that there's anything really to be extracted here other than I think it's just another executive, or not executive, but another studio head that's been the head of a studio for like 20, 25 plus years and just basically making the decision that it's time to retire, you know? Could there be more to it? Yeah, there could be. But I don't know. When we saw the same thing happen with Ted Price, we really just kind of got the vibe that, yeah, he's just going to retire now. But the thing is, I don't know if the only thing that's not made clear is I don't know if Brian Fleming is retiring or not. They didn't really make that clear. So this could be one of these things where maybe Sony was like, gotta go, buddy, for whatever reason. Johnny Gaming, I mean, I doubt that because the Ghost franchise has been very successful for them. But Johnny Gaming, a member for 14 months, thank you for that, buddy, says, over under that the anti-woke brigade will try to push this news as fear, uncertainty, and doubt because the game performed, quote unquote, bad. Well, I mean, yeah, it's Johnny, it's 100% guaranteed that this is now content for the anti-woke or whatever content creation. They're going to have a field day with this, but you know, I'm not really, I don't know that there's anything that can really be taken from this to prove anything, because the reality of the situation as it stands is Ghost of Tsushima did incredibly well. One of the most successful new IPs that Sony ever produced, or that Sucker Punch ever produced. Ghost of Yotei seemingly also is doing well based off of everything we know. Now, the thing about Ghost of Yotei, though, and I've kind of noticed this, we just talked about Insomniac. We're talking about Sucker Punch and these studio transitions. Spider-Man 2, Ghost of Yotei, they have some drama around them where the previous games did not, for one reason or another. And we have Hellbound, the legend. He comes in, he decides, you know what? I'm going to cover Corey today. I'm going to be the one to get it started. He drops 5 membership gifts for the community. Hellbound, thank you so much for that, buddy. Hellbound's bringing in the Crazy Arnold. I'll add that to the counter. Yeah, guys, Hellbound is getting you started. If you want to get this thing up to 25 members, we'll give Boss some treats. I know he's watching right now. He's chilling on the sofa. You can kind of see him. He looks looks weird. Looks like his neck is like extended and he's peeking up, but he's there. Brian likely made the decision to move on prior to the launch of Ghost of Yotei. Well, that's the thing here. Something that I think a lot of people who are going to jump on the Sucker Punch situation, something that I think a lot of people who are going to skew it in one direction or another, they're not going to mention this. This is a truth and it is a reality. And it's that being the head of a AAA game studio is very, very, very difficult and stressful. You don't need to be the head of a studio to know that. But if you listen to any of these studio heads talk, they'll tell you it's very, very stressful. It takes up your entire life practically. And especially when you're expected to operate at such a high level. Um, and that's the thing that I really want to focus on here is similar to Ted Price retiring from Insomniac. Ted's been doing it for like 35 plus years. He's tapped out, man. He's like, I want to chill now. It's time to pass this thing on. But one of the things that was highlighted with Insomniac, the same way we're seeing with Sucker Punch, is this idea that we want to make sure we leave the studio in good hands. And we want to leave the studio while it's kind of in a good position. This is not an uncommon thing. This is something we see all throughout the industry. We've seen it throughout the PlayStation executive branch. We see it throughout the studios all the time, where there just comes a time where we're passing the torch after so many years. Um, are people going to run with this and tell you for a fact that this is proof that Ghost of Yotei did poorly and that it failed? Yeah, you're going to see people say that. Are they wrong? Probably. Say there's a 95% chance they're wrong. Because decisions like this aren't just made overnight. What I just read a moment ago, the decision was probably made leading up to the launch of Ghost of Yotei? Probably. And so when it comes to covering why this is happening, I'm not so interested in the why. I'm more interested in the what it means, the future. That's what really piques my interest. Because I was talking to you guys about Ghost of Yotei, and I was talking to you about how, Ghost of Yotei did a lot of things very well, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It did get a little bit long in the tooth, as I said, with the Platinum Hunt, but I also kind of was left with this feeling where I'm not exactly sure what I want to see Sucker Punch do next. Where, like, on one hand, if they want to continue the Ghost series, I'm totally open to that, and I would still be very excited for that, but I would want them to make some drastic changes where it's like, let's really shake it up. On the other hand, it's almost more tantalizing to think about them saying, we're going to do something brand new again. And I do wonder if maybe something we can potentially extract here, and I have to emphasize the word potentially because I'm just speculating. It's pure speculation, nothing more. I wonder if the one thing we can extract from this is now that we have new leadership in place, if this means we can expect them to do a new game. Start from scratch, something completely fresh. I don't think that's a guarantee. That's far from a guarantee. What may be more likely is that before Brian Fleming decided to step down and pass the torch, as it were, he probably sat down with Jason Connell and Nate Fox and everybody else there and this Adrian Bentley individual. They all sat down and they probably made a roadmap of like, here's the roadmap for Sucker Punch and then for the next 5 to 10 years. Kind of like what we saw with the Insomniac hack when that roadmap came out. So chances are they're already kind of locked in knowing what they're going to do and where they're going to go from here. But beyond that, is there anything more we can extract from this? Is there some kind of greater message? Probably not. I'm not saying there couldn't be. I'm not saying, like, I don't want to ignore the fact that, yes, there was some drama around Ghost of Yotei. There still is, unfortunately. There was some drama around Spider-Man 2, and these things kind of seem to be happening not too long after these games ship. So it's like, if we really look at it from that angle, you could kind of see how some of the conspiracy theories would pop up where it's like, uh-oh, And I get it. I'm not saying it's totally outlandish. I'm just saying that the way it's being presented, if you want to know how Sony likes to handle these things when there's like a falling out, I want to refer back to when Sean Layden left PlayStation. Sean Layden was there for 30 years. PlayStation literally just tweeted, "Thanks, Sean, bye." And that was it. And then Jim Ryan was promoted. But it was very clear that like something went wrong. Like there was some kind of internal struggle there. So yeah, it's interesting. I'm going to be watching Sucker Punch closely. They're one of Sony's, I think, best studios. I think they're a studio that they obviously have a storied history with PlayStation. And again, I really, really enjoyed Ghost of Tsushima. I enjoyed Ghost of Yotei. I'm looking forward to the Ghost of Yotei Legends mode. But I have to admit that I'm very interested to find out what the future of Sucker Punch is actually going to be now under new leadership. Maybe nothing will change. That's also a possibility. I mean, I would find that hard to believe, but yeah, these moves are very normal. Um, the last thing I'll say here before we move on to talk about Marathon, the last thing I'll say to wrap this up is if I were to entertain the notion that something went sour behind the scenes, something went wrong, right? And he was actually told that he's going to have to leave. Somebody, maybe it's Hiroki Totoki, maybe it's Hideaki Nishino, maybe it's even Herman Hulst, but somebody in the executive branch of PlayStation decided like everything that just went down with Ghost of Yotei, it's too much. We need to get a hold of this. We need to get a grip on it. Things need to change. If I'm just looking at both sides of the coin here, possibility, then Sony's PR is handling this very, very well. They know what they're doing. They're being very, very intentional about we're going to frame this as he's willingly leaving and he's passing the baton. So if there is something like that going on, they're hiding it well. And I don't know if we would ever find out otherwise. So we have Fred Vance, longtime member, 66 months. Fred, thank you for that, buddy. You know, I appreciate it. He says, I get why they introduce new weapons under Yotei, but I found myself only using about 3 of them on average. Yeah, I know what you mean there, Fred. I think everybody kind of settles on their favorite. I think for me, it was the base katana, the spear, and the, what's that other one called? The Kusarigama. Those were the 3 that I found myself using like 99% of the time. And the only time I would ever kind of change to the Odachi or the dual katana is if I was encountering an enemy where I'm like, okay, I would have to hit them like 10 times. To whereas if I just switch that weapon, I'm going to take him out. But yeah, this is why I'm saying like I love the new weapons in Ghost of Yotei. If they want to continue the Ghost series, I want to see them go like much further in the future. Not like a modern day, but like closer to it, like 1800s, 1900s, something around that time, if possible. That would be really cool to see. But yeah, I feel like we're just at that point with a lot of people that have been working at PlayStation. I think, and I know I said that was going to be the last thing. I'll add one other caveat here. It's also worth noting that there are people who have been working at PlayStation at these studios for like 25, 30, 35 years. Like we're reaching that point where it's like you are at that retirement stage. Like you got to go. It's just you've been here too long. I do think we are seeing that now. That's because we have to understand PlayStation is a 30-year-old brand now. And we've just seen people like Jim Ryan, Connie Booth, although it seems like she was fired, unfortunately, but Shuhei Yoshida, these people who've been there for like 25, 30 plus years, and they just are like, okay, it's time to go. So it's not common, I would say, that you see people go beyond like the 35-year mark. You like the Odachi and the dual katanas as well. They were fun. Yeah. All the weapons felt good and they were all fun. But yeah, I guess we'll just leave it there. And we will, I guess, see what the future holds for Sucker Punch. I'm still very much rooting for them, man. Like I said, I'll be watching them with great interest, and I'll be anticipating their next announcement. I know a lot of people want to see Infamous come back. A lot of people want to see them return to Sly Cooper. I don't know if they're going to do any of these things. I'm not sure. But if I had to Place a bet right now, though. Like, all right, you got to make a decision. You got to place a bet. What do you think they're going to do? My bet is they're going to continue the Ghost franchise. And that bet is made simply because it's by far and away the most successful thing that they've ever done as a studio. So just keep that in mind, right? Don't be shocked if the future of Sucker Punch is still more Ghost, because Tsushima and Yote, especially collectively, are doing doing great. They're doing better than anything they've ever released. So that's my bet. But I would still like to see them do something different, or Return to Infamous. A Return to Infamous would be very welcome. Maybe they could do like a remaster or something, or like a little collection. A little side thing. That'd be cool. A lot of new people at the helm at Sony. Indeed. All right, guys. So we are going to move on and talk about the main topic of discussion. MacTube says, MBG, there's literally no drama. This is a normal transition. This is actually a positive that PlayStation is not stuck in their ways and valuing new ideas. And I hope their new game or their next game is a new IP. Oh, I agree. I have no choice but to acknowledge the fact that people are going to run with this. And I'm just trying to get ahead of it by saying, like, listen, do what you're going to do, right? Do what you do. But I just hope that people are aware enough and wise enough to understand that there's not always some kind of underlying drama with things like this. Sometimes it is very boring and it is very uninteresting, and it's just, yep, dude's old, did 25, 30 years of work and wants to chill. I mean, who doesn't want to do that? They want to chill. They want to chill out. Totally normal. Did you see that Blue Point finally came out of the cave? Are you talking about their holiday post? If that's what you're talking about, I did see that. And, the amount of Bloodborne 2 confirmed posts underneath that, it's like, okay. I did see that, though. Yeah. Who knows what they're working on, man? Blue Point's another PlayStation studio that I really want to know. I really want to know what they're doing. In Japan, the official retirement age is 65 years old for both men and women. However, individuals can choose to retire as early as 60 years old and receive a reduced pension. Interesting. All right, guys. Time to move on to Marathon. We're going to go over everything relating to Marathon, and we're going to ask the question, is it going to happen? I was going to title this stream, is Marathon the next Helldivers or the next Concord? Because I'm not sure that there's an in-between. I've seen a lot of reactions from people. Now, I have not watched this video myself, nor have I read their blog post. I haven't seen anything for Marathon, but this is pretty much the re-reveal. And so before we dive into it, make sure, like I said, you're hitting that like button to help the stream. But I'm going to read the blog first, and then we'll watch the video. So it says, Vision of Marathon, new gameplay, developer insights, and more. This was posted 22 hours ago. Since the alpha playtest in April, we've been quietly iterating on Marathon alongside a dedicated community of players. Every closed playtest was a chance for us to hear candid feedback about what's working, what needs work, and where Marathon can shine. Today, we're sharing a new look at Marathon and the impact of the fusion between the community's feedback and our vision for Marathon. So I'm only going to read this section here, and then we're just going to watch the video, because I'm not sure if everything they say in this video is just basically in written form here. I'd rather watch it if that's the case. But Marathon is releasing officially March 2026 at the price point of $40 US. They say that they will announce additional regional pricing as they get closer to launch. They say here purchasing Marathon will give you full access to the game, including a roadmap of free gameplay updates as the year progresses. This will include new maps, new runner shells, events, and more, starting with the exploration of UESC, Marathon's Cryo Archive in Season 1. We also want to ensure you are logging in because you love the game, not from fear of missing out. So Marathon's reward passes will not expire, and you will be able to purchase and unlock prior passes. Finally, and most importantly, we believe in preserving competitive integrity in Marathon, So survival will never come down to how much money you spend. We'll share more about our plans for seasonal content, a roadmap, and details about when you'll be able to try the game as we get closer to launch. So the only thing I want to point out here is even though they're saying March, they didn't give an actual date. So this could be like the first week of March. This could be the last day of March. We still don't know that. And fired as Capcom's lawyer says, thankfully, Divinity is confirmed to be turn-based. I saw that. Yeah. I might still give it a try. You know, now that I've had some experience with Clair Obscur, I'm a little bit experienced now with, with turn-based. So, yeah, I'll have to keep an eye on that one. See a lot of excitement for Divinity. All right, so I'm going to bring this video up, and we will watch it together. Just give me a moment while I set this up. Now, again, I do need to remind you guys that I have not watched this yet. So this is going to be my my first time hearing or seeing any of the changes they're making. That's the wrong one. Hold on. This one? Which one is it? Sorry. Having some technical difficulties here. I think this is the right one. There we go. All right. So again, this is the Marathon re-reveal, the video documentary that they put out where they're basically re-revealing the game and trying to sell us on it. Once again, this comes after, you know, so much drama regarding this title. Let's check it out. Sorry, I'm just trying to pull out my chat here. Larian Studio is the size of Naughty Dog now. They grew big after Baldur's Gate 3. I guess that's not too surprising, yeah. After they find that type of success, want to bring more people on. Yeah, I'll be curious to see the gameplay reveal of Divinity, certainly. All right. I do need to fix this, though, because I notice it's a little... I'm going to try to sit back here so I can make this screen as big as I can. Move over here a little bit. All right. Let's check out what Bungie has cooked up with Marathon. The title of this video is Marathon Bungie Vidoc. I hate that word. Vision of Marathon, PS5 and PC games. Chris, what's going on, man? Big as possible. I'll see. Hold on, let me see if can I get it even bigger? How's that? Is that pretty good? I think that's pretty good. Let's check it out.
To even survive in this world.
I messed it up again, damn it.
Players want more challenge. The whole point of an extraction shooter is that you're challenged to even survive in this world.
We heard loud and clear from the alpha, the world didn't feel dangerous. The world didn't feel lived in.
Tau Ceti 4 to us is this place that really doesn't want you there. And that sort of survival narrative really fits really well with the kind of world that we're creating.
The world needs to feel like there is something sinister underneath the surface, even when the colors are really bright.
You should not be here.
We want to marry the classic Bungie game feel, where you are blasting stuff in the face and it feels amazing, with the sort of high tension of the survival genre.
If you want good loot, you have to go to places where you're taking risks, either risks from other players or risks from AI.
So we have all these tools now, Rook with Prox Chat and the way the game works and sort of how tense it is. I think all those things work together really well.
So I do just want to say, like, right off the bat here, Um, the game visually looks good. I saw people yesterday saying that it seems like they actually improved the graphics, and it doesn't look like they've changed the art style dramatically or anything like that. It still has that kind of unique look to it. But I'm watching this. I think it's coming through for you guys in 1080p, 60 frames. I believe I'm watching it in 4K, but it looks really good. Like graphically, it looks good. Looks very AAA, I'll tell you that. And it looks smooth. You can tell. You can tell when you're watching the gameplay of this that, yeah, it's a Bungie first-person shooter. So, it's initial thoughts visually, anyway. They mentioned proximity chat. That was the big one, dude. It's crazy because that game, Arc Raiders is, I mean, all anybody really talks about that game is the proximity chat and how that literally makes that game what it is. So the fact that Bungie was originally not going to have proximity chat, kind of crazy. Seems like it's a must for an extraction shooter. But yeah, they were sure to let us know right off the bat. They brought it, so keep watching.
You have another rook. Oh, stop that. No. Sorry.
The Marathon ship is essentially a ship that we sent out from Earth, an Earth that was overpopulated, to explore and colonize a star far away that we call Tau Ceti. In a lot of ways, it's like the tale of humanity trying to go out into the dark void of space, find a place to colonize, and failing terribly at it.
Everyone's gone, something catastrophic happened, and it's not just their absence that's important, it's the things that they left behind.
The modern race to Tau Ceti all started when a mysterious signal came through the galaxy.
The turmoil that sort of ensues gives rise to all these corporations that were invested in this Marathon project, now going, what happened? How do we recoup our investment?
And then layered on top of that is the greed and corruption of all of the different factions and corporations and revolutionary groups.
In our version of the world, we send people out not just to discover what happened, but also to collect from the things that remain there, and those people are runners.
As a runner, you're a biocybernetic mercenary who's traded their human body for a biosynthetic one.
You're not an unkillable god slayer. You are a mercenary, a disposable mercenary. You will live, you will die.
They are not people. You are the person. You go into that shell and adopt the personality matrix that is specifically designed to help you do the thing that you need to do. And you've been hired by these factions to come to Tau Ceti to scavenge it for anything that might be of value.
As a runner, you've left your body behind. You've traveled light years so that you can have access to the ultimate payday.
With extraction shooters, it is all about survival. There are other people.
So I want to ask you guys, well, they're starting by talking about the story and setting that up. It's interesting. I mean, the story sounds like it has potential, although my assumption is that all of the storytelling is going to be done environmentally and through stuff that you kind of like see and pick up, and that's fine. But what they're saying about the runners and how like they're not human, it's almost like, oh, you're transferring your consciousness or your soul or something. That's kind of the way they're making it sound into this shell. Is that like a new thing, or is that in the original Marathon? Because I have to admit that's kind of cool. I like the idea of that. Good thing they got humbled. I mean, people are still, from what I could tell, they're not really high up on the game right now, but I've seen more positivity than I did, well, I don't know, prior, but saw some people basically saying they were won over. Fired as Capcom's lawyer says, makes me want to extract my money out of PlayStation. Damn. See what you're doing, Bungie? Get it together. That's funny. It's like a new thing. Is it? Huh. I do find it interesting. Saying I'm still not keen on the character design. Yeah, the character designs are I mean, they're not like bad, but they have a certain flair to them, I guess is the way I would describe it. The character style has a certain flair that isn't really speaking to me. I'm not appalled by it or anything either. I'm just like, okay. Like it feels like it could be worse, but it also feels like it could be better. Wait, Irfin, you're saying they're not bad, they're just bad? No one was hyped for Helldivers 2? Well, we'll keep watching. Yeah, I'll probably interrupt here and there to give my thoughts on what we're seeing.
People who want the same things that you want, and it's up to you to vest them.
But there's quiet periods where you're listening for the anticipation of something. Could there be another crew in the distance? Did I just hear a gunshot? Did I hear AI just alert? And then there's the loud, bombastic action moments where the minute something is alerted, the minute you're in that fight, now it's go time. Players particularly pose a lot of danger to you. They can make a lot of decisions that you might find illogical and completely trick you into scenarios. Sometimes the best loot box is another player that you see along the run. So there's a few different ways you can play the game. So one of them is you can play in group, both with your friends and also through crew fill, which will just match you with 2 other players. You can play solo, and you'll jump into a game with a bunch of other solo players.
In solo, I think the stakes are a bit higher, right? You have only yourself to rely on.
You still have prox chat, so you can call out to other solos, but you are playing a tense alliance game where it's really up to them whether or not they decide to honor or respect that alliance you might have created.
So, if I'm not mistaken, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong here, I think this is something that they just announced or just added, where you can, they have solos. I think originally it was only trios or something, right? Again, maybe I'm wrong about that, but I've seen quite a few people reacting to this saying that this is now making them at least a little bit more interested in it, because a lot of people who I would say are turned off by, well, multiplayer games in general, but certainly extraction shooters. If you don't have friends and you're also not really interested in trying to search for groups, it's just one of these things where it's like, yeah, okay, I'm good, right? Like that's not going to be a thing I do. But the moment they hear that, oh, well, actually you can play completely solo against other solos, because that's the thing. It's like, oh yeah, you could play solo in some multiplayer games, but you're going to be at a disadvantage going up against 3-4 people. Nobody wants to do that. So I do find that interesting. Even for me, that's a little bit more appealing, where I think, I would be able to, obviously, assuming my friends would want to play this, find a group, but just the idea that if you just want to experience this on your own, now you can do that. And they're talking about how proximity chat will be enabled as well, which I imagine in solo, that's where you'll find the most interesting encounters. Now, I have another question for anybody here who's been playing, excuse me, Arc Raiders. Does Arc Raiders allow you to play solo as well? Because I'm wondering if this was something that Bungie found inspiration from, where they're like, oh, Arc Raiders is doing it. Maybe we should write that down. Like, we should do that. You're saying yes, they do. Okay, so do you think it would be a safe assumption that this is one of the things that they're like, okay, if they're doing it, we should definitely do it too? Because I'm kind of getting that vibe. That's good. I think it's good. Having the option to play solo, I'll be honest, I think that's going to, if there's anything that will be a difference maker in terms of how many players you're going to get day one and how many people you're going to get to at least try the game out, or at least with the beta, having solo there, I think will make a big difference, certainly. Yeah, and they did say that if you don't want to play solo and you still want to play in trios, even if you don't have friends, you can just enter the queue and you'll be with 2 random people, which I think a lot of people will choose to play it that way too. But All right, let's keep this going here.
It's all about figuring out what's your investment, what's your stake, when to get in, when to get out, and when to kill the other guy. Being good at Marathon is like playing poker with guns.
One of the things we've really focused on is making sure the environments are selling the tone we want to hit with the game.
We've brought a little bit of groundedness, a little bit of grit, a little bit of darkness, a little bit of that mood that kind of is necessary for an extraction shooter to feel dangerous.
Our biggest goal has always been player immersion.
I do just want to call out here, it seems like it was a little bit of a correction. You're saying, Jack, you're saying people were asking for solo during the public beta test, and at that time, Arc Raiders hadn't launched yet? Okay. All right. I think that was important to highlight because, yeah, I mean, as somebody who's kind of on the outside looking in, my automatic assumptions are because of how successful Arc Raiders is, that it's just, oh, yeah, you know, they're just going to do they're going to literally copy everything they do. But, okay. It makes sense that people would be asking for something like that. Tarkov has solo as well. It's nothing new. I guess it's just kind of strange then, right? Because it seems like one of these things similar to Proximity Chat where when they first put this game out, it just wasn't there. And people were seemingly kind of confused. Like, what do you mean you can't play solo?
We're trying to keep everything as believable and realistic as possible.
So we cranked up all the material responses, feel accurate, feel realistic. You know, you'll get gloss, you'll get crud and mud. And no one of those things is all that sexy, but when you layer in just a little bit more, you know, responsive to light, a little bit more responsive to the player, things will part, water will pool. Layer in all these different things, the world becomes much more alive. It feels like a real place. And then when you're feeling like a real place and you feel in danger, now your run matters.
I look back at some of the alpha shots, and it's kind of hard to tell when it's sunny or when it's rainy. Weather feels like weather now. But like when it's sunny, you get this really nice like bleaching effect. It feels bright. It feels like warm when it's sunny now. I feel like we're just celebrating that color so much more. I think it just contributes to the whole effect.
So we have dead bodies in the game now. We also have like decay on the runners themselves. Like you'll actually see them.
Yo, you guys hear that? They got dead bodies in the game now. Sold. Say no more. I don't need to watch the rest of this. I'm going to buy it now. Dead bodies in the game? They know exactly what I wanted to hear.
Fall apart. We're actually dropping the body. The body stays there, and the body slowly decays over time as you loot it.
So you come into a room and you see a bunch of carnage, but you see one body is still pristine, you know that their killer is probably close, and you are not safe. If everybody is just a messy goop, you're probably okay.
Audio is a huge gameplay component in Marathon. Every sound plays a function. Footsteps tell players everything. It's telling you what is the type of threat that's around you. Where are they at? Are they above you? Are they far away? Are they close by? So if I'm in bioresearch and I hear a particular material type, I know, hey, they're on the second floor and they're in this room. Our hero is the world. So we're constantly trying to figure out where can music help reinforce what is the vibe and intent of this place.
There was the discussion about the interaction between score and sound design. And I wanted to create a score that wasn't just like full of instruments you've heard before. The job was, how can I make what I'm seeing, this race to survival, even more nervous?
Guys, I just got to ask the question, like, I'm not the only one getting the Where's Waldo vibe from this guy, right? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Am I going to play it? So I'll talk about that once we're done with the video, but I will say that the gameplay sections that they're showing, they do look pretty good. you know, but I got to finish the video first. It's sounding pretty good. It's looking pretty good. But I'll save it for when the video's done. Those are some glasses right there, that's for sure.
And even more terrifying or even more thrilling.
We have 4 zones, and each one of those zones has...
Guys, I'm sorry I keep pausing it. I'm laughing so hard. Wasn't laughing at that guy. I'm laughing because the sounds that he was making, they're coming through my speaker, and Boss is just sitting here. You can't see him. He's laying on the sofa next to me, and his ears are just like he's freaking out, eyes going wide. He's like, what is that? What's happening? Not going to be able to play this game around Boss, seemingly.
Its own sort of approach to kind of level design and what it asks players to kind of think about and do. You're going to start with perimeter. You're kind of on the outskirts of the colony. It's a little more spread out. You got a little bit more areas to be safe and to sneak around, but it's also a little more straightforward.
It really brings this sense of scale. It sits like in our fantasy as expansion site for the colony on the very edges of where they had settled on Tau Ceti. UESC are also there trying to understand what has happened and secure the area. Death is a part of Marathon. It happens a lot, even on perimeter, which we talk about as a more friendly zone to new runners. You are still gonna die a lot.
Attention, unauthorized runner. You are trespassing in a military security zone.
It was really important to us that the UESC were not trivial to fight.
When you face them on Tau Ceti as a runner, you are the outlaw. You are trespassing.
They have a little bit of this haunted tone. So you can see they have this floating locomotion, they get these sparks, they have these sigils over their faces. Sometimes their behavior feels almost like they're possessed a little bit, like are they taking in commands from a remote AI? The elite tier is sort of like this dark blue. The mini-boss tier is more like a lilac. The boss tier is just gonna be dipped in red.
They have these tendrils that latch out and leech onto you and start sucking away at your consciousness.
Yo, that's actually, like, terrifying, though. They start leeching away your consciousness? Bro. Okay. So, that actually, from a story, or, like, I guess somewhat of a more story-oriented perspective, that is interesting to me, because originally I thought, like, well, if they're telling me you're playing as a runner, and a runner isn't, like, a real person, it's just, like, your soul or consciousness in that shell, like, then what's the real threat? But the idea that, oh, no, your consciousness can be lost, your soul can be extracted or something, that's actually kind of cool. I like that. And Corey, the legend Landiga, he comes in. Hellbound beat you to it, though, Corey. Hellbound dropped 5 earlier, but you're here dropping another 5.
I'm no hero. Never was. Never will be.
Thank you for that, Corey. Boss is trying really hard to remain calm. He's laying next to me here. He just heard the sound bite, so he's really fighting. He's really fighting to stay calm. But yeah, guys, if you want to continue to contribute to the member goal, feel free to do that. We're on our way to 25. You playing as the Guardian, kind of, and when you die, they get revived by the ghost. You think they should delay it and put in a campaign? I will say that, like, everything they're setting up here in terms of, like, the story and the world building, I am a little bit surprised, truly, that, like, it's just an extraction shooter. I'm surprised they're not trying to do, like, more of a single player campaign or just something that's more traditional, to make it like a complete package, I suppose. But yeah, I mean, I guess it's something they could always do in the future if Marathon does end up succeeding. But I have to say, everything they've said so far about this world and the story and what they're trying to build from that aspect, it does sound pretty cool. Like, it's intriguing. Spiders Capcom's lawyer is saying, you said Arc wasn't for you. You think Marathon will be? I'm actually not sure. I don't know. I did try Arc, and I mean, there's a possibility I didn't play Arc long enough for it to click with me. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I should go back and try to play it again and see if it finally clicks. Because I'm not going to lie, seeing the way everybody talks about Arc, I'm like, it's got to be me, right? Like, there has to be something awesome here that it hasn't clicked for me yet, or I'm just completely missing. But I'm not sure. I know that extraction shooters, you know, they're very specific flavor. And I don't know, maybe I was just awful at it. I can't tell. But I did play the beta for Arc, and I walked away from it because I'm like, I see what they're doing here. It's not bad. Like, I could clearly tell, like, this isn't a bad video game. And that's why I wasn't shocked when it blew up. I'm like, yeah, the quality was there. It's just the loop itself. I wasn't really, it just wasn't, I wasn't getting it. You know, I'm like, this isn't doing it for me. Will this be different? I don't know. I mean, it looks very different, but me keeping in mind that this is an extraction shooter, the same type of gameplay loop that Arc Raiders is. There's a pretty high chance I'm going to try it and be like, I don't know. But I like what I'm seeing. Like, it looks good. That's the thing about it. That's why I'm saying, like, it would be kind of awesome if they were able to come out here and be like, we're offering a single player campaign. That would be sick. You're going to have an open mind before it releases. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of people immediately writing it off. I think there's a lot of reasons for that. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Boss, chill. It's not time yet. Helldivers clears, you think? You were into online games in the PS3 days and then lost interest in them with the PS4 till now? You're saying if I don't like extraction shooters, there's no point in trying it? I mean, if they offer a beta, I'm going to try it. As long as it's like a free beta, yeah, sure. I'll definitely try it. But, you know, it could very well be a situation where it's like I played 4 rounds, and I'm like, no way. But, you know, I'll at least try it. But I look at it and I'm like, it's a shame in a sense because the game looks cool. Like, it does look good. But how much longer is this video, by the way? Where are we at? Okay, so we're almost about halfway through. We'll keep this going.
You're getting into Marsh, you're starting to understand something bad happened here, and you're seeing signs of that in a way that wasn't apparent on Perimeter.
On Dire Marsh, we've got the anomaly, and it's this strange alien entity that has erupted up out of the ground.
You're really feeling signs that this is more of an epicenter of where things went wrong on this colony.
It's got a different style of gameplay. It's more like a central complex that is rich with overlapping areas and regions that you can find yourself kind of bleeding from one encounter to another.
It's a great map to go in when you just want some action, and you're gonna need somewhere to farm.
Each map has different weather systems, it has different dynamic events that can happen, and your approach to them is never going to be consistent.
One of the needs that the design team thought that we should have is more challenging PvE activities.
Each of our zones has these bigger events that don't happen every session, but when they do happen, you'll know they're happening.
Building these types of events into the world shake up your run and make you decide, like, what do you want to risk?
Then you get to Outpost. An Outpost is a more functional, thriving UESC facility. There's scan drones flying overhead, the UESC's everywhere, there's tripwires, there's a weather hazards. It's a lot of stuff you're up against from the get-go.
Outpost is a smaller map, but it's also a lot more vertical. It's built around a specific building that we call the pinwheel.
This is just this meat grinder of a structure that's like a corkscrewed building that has nooks and crannies and hallways, and it just becomes a real cluster when you're in there fighting.
ore is raised on outpost and nothing is free. The pinwheel hosts some of the best loot opportunities.
But it's noisy, players are going to know you're doing it, so there's extra risks.
The character you're going to spend the most time with is the zones. Understanding each personality of every zone. That's the storytelling every player gets.
Every time you're on the planet, you can look up and see the ship floating and looming in the skybox, reminding you of why this place even exists, but also reminding you that something up happened here, and you got to figure out what it was.
Marathon has a lot of loot in it. It's a huge pie. There's a ton of different implants at every rarity. There's a ton of different runner cores for each runner. There's over 400 weapon mods. Like, it's just an outlandish number of items to collect.
There's going to be a really interesting period of discoverability where players sort of figure out, what are the pieces that I have available to me? How do I get them? And how do I put them together into something that's awesome?
You can go through and look at how many iconic weapons have come from Bungie. And it's something that we really want to hold up and make sure that we're matching that legacy.
Visually, they're all really, really distinct and clearly Marathon, but we wanted animation-wise a majority of them to feel recognizable. So when you put them in your hands, you knew how to use them.
Mods will basically allow you to increase certain stats on the guns, that battery SMG. The gold mod, full-blown, turns it into the needlet. The sidearm is a gun that is effective in close quarters, but maybe not too much outside of that. But the gold mod on this gun puts a suppressor on it, and then when I kill something with this gun, I turn invisible. And then that lends it to other build crafting if I want to sort of stack into how invisible can I be.
Even some weapon mods can improve stats and your runner shell's capabilities. So there's lots of different ways to raise the floor of your stats so that you're coming into each run strong.
Runner shells are a bioprinted body that you inhabit when you go down to Tau Ceti to scavenge the ruins of the Lost Colony. Each of our launch shells is really an archetype of gameplay. So if you want to play like a frontline tank, if you want to play a rat character that wants to sneak around, if you want to find those rats, we have a shell for you.
The idea there is like, have a broad spectrum that everyone can kind of find a little bit of a home to, and then we're gonna build on top of that.
Cores and implants mold the kit into a playstyle that you want.
So examples of those are like, on Thief, I get a second grapple. On Destroyer, I pull out my Riot Barricade, and as it takes damage, it's actually converting that damage into shield back to me.
And these can be used in combination with each other to shift the gameplay style of your runner kit.
At any point you feel like you don't want to risk anything, or maybe you're down on your luck and you want the opportunity to get back, Rook's your guy.
Rook is a prototype runner shell.
It's a mode where we make it easy for you to just kind of drop into a match that's in progress and run about and try to scavenge as much as possible.
You are going in solo to a run that's already in progress. You don't have a team, you have a very limited loadout, but you're not risking anything. This lets you kind of get in, grab a little bit of loot, and then bail.
So when you get like a really powerful gun or implant or core, it is unlocking some new space or new challenge that you've never done before, and the loot is helping you reach greater heights.
Faction agents are such a big vehicle for tone and narrative for the world.
Each faction has their own motivations, their own desires, the things they're going to ask you to do.
We've got Traxxas. They're the most powerful corporation in human history. They have very long arms and very deep pockets to kind of get what they want.
So they might ask you to go and find specific weapons or mods.
Congratulations, runner. Your last performance evaluation was rated on track.
If you're a PvP player, one of the factions is called Arachne. They're essentially a death cult. What that translates to is that they're asking you to go and kill other runners.
The sacred thermodynamics of violence.
Mida is all about destruction. They are going to give you grenades, they're going to give you claymores, they're going to let you blow the place up.
And they are irreverent and dangerous. They might ask you to upload this malware into a UESC dropship, and as it leaves, it explodes and careens off into the distance.
We have big plans. Explosive, visionary.
Each of our factions has an upgrade tree that you unlock progressively as you gain reputation with them.
And along the way, you're going to unlock these capstones that are these special upgrades. When you unlock that final capstone, you're gaining access to the best stuff in the market. You're getting gold items.
In addition, these faction upgrades can increase your runner's base stats, and those base stat upgrades are permanent for the rest of the season.
Access denied.
Darius, you know me. Did you miss your last round of maintenance?
Don't search. Don't tick. Don't question.
Darius?
Access denied.
Hey,
Access
it's
denied.
okay. It's just me.
I'm not alone.
The Codex is a suite of achievements, collectibles, audio logs, things that you're finding in Run that we're going to track for you over time. The more you find these items, the more story you're unlocking about them and what their role is in the world, why they're here, who cared about them, why they're as valuable as they are.
I'm repeating myself with these entries, but any fears inherent in the scope of this endeavor seem unfounded.
Within the Codex, there's a whole bunch of stuff that you can unlock. Runner skins, weapon charms, stickers, emblems, backgrounds for your profile, and titles.
So it's everything from your first steps on the world of Tau City 4 all the way through to becoming a Vidmaster and taking on the most extreme challenges.
The Marathon ship is the hardest place to survive in this game. And if you're not ready to take your best stuff, well, you're not going to survive. It's like a heist for a runner. Cryo Archive is big in and of itself, but it's also cold. It's also hostile.
It's going to test every aspect of the survival game. Probably going to be forced to run into players in ways you haven't been on other maps. You're going to run into basically every type of environmental threat you have faced before. You're going to fight a who's who of the highest tier UESC units, and the UESC are there in this presence you haven't seen before.
It's really cool because each of the vaults is more successively challenging than the next. And that 7th vault is where you both are going to get the coolest thing, but also where you're going to learn the most about what happened to this place.
At some point in your journey in Cryo Archive, you might start wondering if the UESC are there to keep you out or if they're actually there to keep something else in.
Nice. I like that.
I think the thing that I'm most excited about for Marathon is getting into the hands of our players.
The biggest thing I want people to take away from Marathon is that it still feels amazing. It still feels like it has that spark.
It takes all the aspects that I think Bungie is really good at. First-person feel and gunplay, the super deep, crazy sci-fi lore, and it mixes up all those things together in a really amazing PvP package.
Really comes down to every single discipline that's working on the game. The animation has to be good, the sound has to be good, everything has to be working in harmony.
That's when the controller fades away, the screen fades away, you're just immersed in the world.
That is what we're trying to live up to with Marathon.
It is a mad dash. I'm not going to front about that. It's a mad dash to the finish, but that's when you got to put in the elbow grease and the extra sweat and blood it takes to get this done.
Dude, what is this? What is it? Let's go. 5 people in the extract.
Well, there we go. That, I guess, pretty much covers all of it. It's Marathon. I'm going to put out a poll now. See what you guys think. You guys can vote on this. Will you be playing... All right. Will you be playing Marathon? Yes, no. Still not sure yet. What do I think? Well, let me get this off the screen. And I'll give you my thoughts on it. We'll talk more extensively about it. Try to answer the question after watching that. Are they going to win people over? Are they going to win the player base over? Or is it too late? Oops. So my thoughts on it so far are, I would say this. I think Bungie did a lot of good things here where they delayed it. They took the necessary time to respond to the community, or I should say listen to the community, take in the feedback, make changes that the community was asking for. The game looks more polished. Visually, it looks really good, I'd say. The gunplay looks very smooth. It looks very Bungie, you can tell. And frankly, everything about it looks like it's coming together well. But on the flip side of that, I also have this nagging feeling, and this is one of these things where I can't tell how much of it is just basically seeing people's reactions on the internet to it versus what. With this general sense that even with all of this being true, I think Bungie still has a pretty significant uphill battle here. And that battle, I don't think is necessarily about trying to be the next big thing where, like, that's what they're trying to achieve. I mean, I think ultimately that's what they want to achieve. I think that's what any live service multiplayer game wants to achieve. They want to be the next big thing. But I think the real battle here is, like I said in my title, like winning players over. Convincing people, if you're playing Arc Raiders come March of next year, here's why you're going to want to put that down and come play Marathon. And the big thing I'm going to be on the lookout for, because you guys were asking me if I'm planning on playing this, the big thing I'm looking out for is the open beta. I will absolutely download and install and play the open beta and try it for myself. And for me, I feel like this is one of these games where it's a complete toss-up. It's a coin flip. I'm looking at what they're showing and I'm like, that looks kind of cool. I can kind of dig it, but when I get my hands on the controller and I'm playing matches, it very well could be where it's like, okay, I put 2 hours into this. I played a handful of matches and I just don't like the experience. I'm not feeling the experience. I'm not feeling the gameplay loop. It's not clicking for me. It's not lighting me up. It very well could be that. And frankly, because I know it's an extraction shooter, I kind of am anticipating that. But I'm not going to let it sway me, from not at least trying. I'm not going to let it kind of take me away from that. fired as Capcom's lawyer saying, but what's your takeaway from it? Not people online. My takeaway from it is, I guess I'll separate it into two different categories here. My personal takeaway and like how I alone feel about it, I think it looks pretty good. I think it looks like a well-crafted game. I think it looks like something that clearly they're trying very hard to make a good extraction shooter. But I also feel like as much as I think it looks good, I don't know that it's going to be for me. And I'm not sure that that video I just watched and everything they just said, I don't know that it's meant to speak to me as much as it's meant to speak to the current, which seemingly very large and ever-growing extraction shooter community, as well as the Destiny community and the Bungie community. Now, on the other side of that, the second way I can answer that question is my takeaway in terms of what they just presented and how that's going to land. Like, is this it? Is this the Bungie comeback? Is this where Sony's acquisition of Bungie is really going to pay off? I am still not convinced. For as positive as I'm trying to be towards it, because I didn't necessarily see anything egregious or horrible that makes me go, oh my God. Like I did read some reactions from people online and they're like, DOA, garbage, trash. And I'm like, I'll be honest, like I'm not sure what's giving them that vibe. I do think that there's people that they just kind of want to see Bungie fail. And I get that. You know, that's a thing that exists. But I don't think it's that. I don't think it's like, because we went through Concord, right? We know what that looks like from a Sony studio. We know what, okay, you guys are about to careen off a cliff and explode when you hit the bottom. And it ain't going to be pretty. We know what that looks like. We also know what an unexpected success looks like coming out of nowhere with Helldivers. My big takeaway here, I guess, is I think Marathon's going to land somewhere in the middle at the end of the day. I don't think it's going to be some kind of train wreck that, you know, implodes on itself and nobody's playing it. It dies after a couple of weeks or months and the servers are going to get shut down. I definitely don't think it's going to be that. I also don't think it's going to be the next Arc Raiders. I think it's going to find some in-between space where it will have a solid player base that will keep it alive and keep it relatively healthy. And I think Bungie will try their best to build off of that. And maybe they can be successful in doing that. Maybe not. But generally speaking, I think it's going to be that game where if we look at Helldivers as being the extreme on one end, where huge monumental success, the next big thing that takes over the industry for like 6 months to 9 months straight. And then we look at Concord on the other end, where it's like the absolute opposite of that. The greatest failure that we've ever seen from Sony multiplayer. And then I think you'll have Marathon right in between those two things. That's my honest to God, like just vibe I'm getting from this. I get the sense that a lot of the negativity that I'm seeing online is a little bit forced. You know, I think people are forcing it a little bit, where it's like, again, I'm very much, and I say this as somebody where I'm not a Bungie fan. You guys know that. If anything, I've been hypercritical of Bungie. I've been extremely critical of Sony's acquisition of Bungie, especially recently, where I'm just like, I think this was a very bad decision on Sony's part. And I think we're seeing it just in some ways get worse over time. But I think I see people coming out and they're like, I'm reading certain comments and certain replies, and my general feel is like, I think what you really are trying to say is you can't wait to see this game fail. Like, you want to see this game fail. And I want to highlight something here, that there's a reason for this. I don't think it's just Bungie. Part of the vitriol, I mean, vitriol is a strong word. Part of the negative feedback I've been seeing from people, it comes from partially the PlayStation fan base, where they're like, we're tired, Sony, like, we want this to fail so you'll stop. Like, we want you to stop making these types of games. It's why that Game 4 loop that was announced at the Game Awards, people are like, Sony, knock it off. We're done here. I think there's a bit of that mixed into this as well. So you have like the ire of, scorned Bungie fans, people who want to see Bungie do something like Destiny 3 or save Destiny 2 and they forget about Marathon. I think you have people who are indifferent to Bungie, but they hear the bad news about the plagiarism and the situation with Sony and live service, and they're like, yeah, let's, we want to let's get the popcorn ready, watch another catastrophe. And then I think you have the ire of a certain portion of the PlayStation fan base that are genuinely, like, they really can't stand that Sony's trying to continue to make multiplayer live service games a thing for the PlayStation brand. I think when you combine all those things together, it does paint a relatively negative picture that I think some people kind of have to go out of their way to ignore and not pay attention to, and instead just focus on the game, let the game speak for itself. And I think if you do that, if you watch this video that Bungie put out, yeah, I don't think you can walk away honestly saying, like, that looks like trash. I think that's a bit much. Like, again, Bungie is a historied studio. They have talent. They know what they're doing. They know how to make a good playing, good feeling first-person shooter. I don't think anybody doubts that. But I just think the general takeaway for most people is, looks good to okay. Don't know if I'm going to spend money to play that, though. And even if it was free, I'm not sure that this is where I'm going to spend my time playing my multiplayer extraction shooter. I think that's the problem that Bungie faces right now. But I think this is a good first step. We have Venino, a member for 12 months. He says, I've been a beta tester for this game since the beginning. The last alpha build feels and looks super solid. However, it feels more like a PC game, in my opinion. Interesting. Yeah, I think the PC, it feeling more like a PC game probably has to do with the inventory management. I was noticing that on screen, where that definitely looks more oriented for mouse and keyboard. But I've been hearing from a lot of people as well on a positive side. I've been talking about the negative feedback I've been seeing from people. On a positive side, I've been hearing from a lot of people and seeing them respond to this where they, like you, they've been testing this game since the alpha build and, they've been playing it for a while and they feel that Bungie has made vast improvements compared to what they were playing previously. I think this is good. That's what you want to hear, because the most important thing, I would say, and I want to add this to my thoughts here, is if you were to ask me, like, what's the most important thing that Bungie needs to get right between now and the official launch of this game, my answer to that would be the beta. The open beta needs to be big. It needs to be something that pops off. I really believe that. I do think open betas for games like this are indication of what will come next. So like Arc Raiders popped off, right? I don't think there was a beta for Helldivers, surprisingly. But you look at something like Concord, even with the open beta, people weren't playing it. That would and these open betas, they kind of telegraph, like, here's what happens next. I'm going to be curious to see when this open beta for Marathon comes out, if I notice it's like, it's not popping off, it's not doing horrible either. It's, again, in the middle. If the beta, that is, lands somewhere in the middle, then I think it's going to do slightly less. It's going to be more towards, okay, they're going to be on the struggle bus here. If it does well, but not like crazy numbers where it's like, look at hundreds of thousands of people playing Marathon, but it's doing like respectable numbers, then I think that will indicate the game will land right in the middle. But I think the beta is very important. It's absolutely critical to this game coming in and establishing itself, And Fired as Capcom's lawyer is saying it'll do well on PC. I can see it surviving there. Yeah, that's certainly possible too. I mean, I do think Bungie's more known for like console, right? I think that comes all the way, from like the Halo days. But knowing that the extraction shooter genre seemingly thrives on PC, I think you're right about that. There could be more than enough extraction shooter fans to just, again, create a healthy audience and player base to let this game survive. But another angle I want to talk about here when it comes to Marathon is more of like the Sony angle, right? Like, what do we think Sony's expectations are at this point, knowing everything we know about how Sony, I don't want to say you would assume Sony regrets buying Bungie, but Sony clearly was caught off guard where they didn't do their due diligence to really understand, like, you're purchasing a studio for $3.6 billion that is going to produce nothing for you practically, and actually just cost you more money and be a problem ultimately. I really do wonder, and it's really difficult to gauge this because Sony's not going to come out and flat out say, like, we need Marathon to sell X amount of units to consider it a success. But internally, they definitely have an expectation. And I really wonder what that looks like, because again, you're talking about a company that threw everything at the wall for successful live service. Only one thing worked out, again, that being Helldivers. Everything else either got canceled or was a complete disaster. And, now they have their golden goose, so to speak, that they paid for a copious amount of money for. And I really just wonder, like, after everything that Marathon's been through so far, if Sony is looking at this and saying, listen, man, we just need you guys to just not flop. Okay, if you can just manage to not flop, maybe we can take it from there. Or I wonder if it's the opposite of that, where Sony's actually like, guys, you better pray that this is going to pop off, because if not, it's going to be some problems. It's difficult to read that right now. It's difficult to gauge that, but we've seen that Sony clearly has not been happy with Bungie. They've not been happy with Destiny 2's performance. We've seen how the leadership at Bungie has been completely rearranged. There have been numerous layoffs. And the one thing that Bungie seemingly was doing that Sony felt really good about was Project Gummy Bears. They took that internally now as a PlayStation studio known as LFG Studio, which when we see that game, we'll know that was Bungie's game ultimately. But it's a really fascinating situation to see the build up to Marathon. I wish I could have more excitement for it, to be honest. I don't think that Marathon is the game that, if I imagine a new multiplayer live service first-person shooter from Sony or published by Sony, Marathon is not the game that pops up in my mind. It's not something, I don't even think it's in like my top 2 or 3. It's one of these things where it's like, oh, okay. So I wish I was more excited for it, but it's what we're getting, So I'm trying to look at it through this lens of like, okay, well, what exactly are we looking at here? What's the potential here? We have Funkolk saying, or a member for 18 months, thank you for that, saying Bungie is amazing. They are full of talent and potential. The biggest problem with it was leadership, and they are gone. Now they can really shine. And that's also true, potentially. We have to see it play out. A lot of people were celebrating, I think, who was it? Pete Parsons, when it was announced that he's stepping down and he's not going to be the head of Bungie anymore. He's kind of done, or he will be very soon. For a lot of Bungie players, based off of the reaction I saw, that's like, yes, finally, like now we can actually maybe go somewhere meaningful again. And maybe that will begin with Marathon. But one of the more interesting things is we did get a rumor not that long ago that apparently Destiny 3 has now officially entered early development. So with that in mind, assuming that rumor is true, then it could tell us that Sony is prepared for Marathon to not be the next big thing, maybe be something that is supported for a couple of years and maybe kind of dies out. And then from that point forward, they can use Destiny 3 as their big launch pad, which, yeah, I mean, maybe Marathon happening between Destiny 2 and Destiny 3 could be the best thing that Bungie ever does, in the sense that nothing will make people want Destiny 3 more than getting something like Marathon. By the way, guys, make sure you take a moment, if you're enjoying the stream, hit the like button. It definitely helps more than you know, and I'd appreciate it. We have Alan Gould, a member for 22 months. Thank you for that support, buddy. He says, Marathon will kill Call of Duty, period. If the gameplay is going to be fun and the gunplay is going to feel great, Marathon will do just fine. Alan thinks it's going to kill Call of Duty. I don't agree with that one. I think my assessment of that one, Alan, is Marathon is nowhere near where Call of Duty is. Now, Call of Duty seems to be running into a couple of roadblocks and having some struggles of their own. But in terms of scale, I think they're just on two different levels completely. Like, what I'm trying to say here is I don't think you can compare Marathon to Call of Duty. Call of Duty is kind of in a league of its own, just, based off of the way it sells and how loyal the player base is. So the struggles that you're seeing with Call of Duty right now, keep in mind, I think a studio like Bungie would very much like to see that level of success for something like Marathon. But I don't want to downplay Bungie. Bungie has found huge success as well. Bungie has found massive success with Destiny 1, certainly Destiny 2, and they've had some high highs. But in terms of like really reaching that next level, that takes them to, and I guess, a place where they're in a league of their own. I don't know if they've achieved that yet. I mean, maybe they achieved that like with the early Halo days, but maybe at certain peaks of Destiny 2. But I don't think Marathon's going to challenge Call of Duty. I know that Call of Duty tried to do their own extraction shooter or their extraction shooter game mode, and I think that kind of got scrapped or whatever. So just a completely different play style in general. Fire's Capcom's lawyer says Sony's a big boy. They'll survive. Learn from it. You would hope so, right? You would hope so. They still seem committed, man. And I can respect that. You make an investment of $3.6 billion. I mean, I say this as somebody who's not really a big fan of Bungie. And I was over here thinking we were going to get The Last of Us multiplayer, but here we are with Marathon instead. Or you can't even have both, right? It's interesting to see that Sony's still so committed. Where, like, I think Sony really wants to try to make something work with Bungie. And I don't think Sony's willing to give it up because, I mean, the truth of Bungie is that they have proven numerous times within this industry that they know what to do. Like, they can do it, is what I mean to say. They can do it. They can achieve it. But it's the kind of in-between areas where it's like, well, yeah, you've had, again, some high peaks, but you've had some pretty low valleys as well. And I think that what we're seeing with Marathon, unfortunately, the build-up we've seen to Marathon, it seems like we're kind of between that and Destiny 2 seemingly kind of slowly but surely coming to an end and winding down. It feels like we're potentially reaching the lowest point for Bungie that maybe we've ever seen, especially with the whole plagiarism scandal. And it's kind of sad to see that because it's like, damn, dude, of course, like as soon as Sony gets their hands on them, this is kind of what they inherited. But if you're talking about the long term, because that's the thing, if you make an investment of $3.6 billion in a studio, you have to think about the long term. You want to see the short to midterm success, but if that doesn't work out, then you have to think, okay, what can we make happen in the long term? So I'm saying, like, it probably would be wise of Sony, even if Marathon doesn't work out, even if this doesn't blow up and become the next big thing, but it can just find some kind of audience, it would be wise for Sony to at least stick with Bungie to see Destiny 3 through to the finish line and support that, because Destiny 3 could be massive depending on what they want to do. In fact, I've seen a lot of Destiny players saying that that's the direction they want to see them go in, even more so than what they're seeing with Marathon. So if they do Marathon and it doesn't work, okay. If they do Marathon and then eventually down the line, years from now, Destiny 3 and that still doesn't work, at that point, I think we're just going to, we have to stick a fork in Bungie. They're done. Lore Cannon, a member for 20 months, says, don't forget Bungie is part of the reason that The Last of Us and Spider-Man Online got canceled. I'm still mad at them, and Marathon is DOA because of Arc Raiders. Well, there's quite a bit to unpack here, Lore Cannon. So I also want to read this, Lore Cannon. I'm going to respond to that because you said here it will definitely kill /join Concord. Oh, wait. Lorcan, the interesting thing about the Bungie situation is I actually thought the same thing for a long time. I thought Bungie was the reason why The Last of Us Online was canceled. Because we were hearing like rumblings, we were hearing rumblings that, Naughty Dog was doing their own thing, and then Bungie came in and convinced Sony to kill the project and pull the plug, and they convinced Sony to pull the plug on all these other projects. But as time went on, we learned more about what actually went down behind the scenes. And to be clear, we don't have the full picture. There's more insight I would certainly like to have. So I'm limited in what, and just how clear of a picture I can paint here. But the general understanding is that when Bungie came in, one of the reasons why Sony overpaid for them and said, yeah, we'll pay $3.6 billion for this one studio is because Sony was so desperate to ensure that their live service games would succeed that they put all of their faith and trust into Bungie as like, you guys, well, you know how to do it. You did it with Destiny 1 and 2. And we want you to come in and talk to our studios and check out their games and give them advice, give them feedback. That's my understanding, based off of all the insider information we received, is that Bungie's job was basically to give feedback, not to Sony, but to the studios themselves. And when it comes to Naughty Dog, apparently one of the things that Bungie did was they seemingly scared Naughty Dog. From my understanding, they basically told them like, oh yeah, you guys have something here, but you're going to have to feed the beast, right? Like you're going to have to just feed this game content every single month. You're going to have to do weekly updates. I think Bungie gave Naughty Dog a reality check where it's I think Neil Druckmann and company, they actually had that serious ambition of, we want to make a really good multiplayer game, just a solid multiplayer game. And I think maybe at some point Bungie was the one that kind of tapped them on the shoulder and be like, okay, well, what's your 6-month roadmap? And that's, I think, where, but at the same time though, hold on, because I just thought of something. This may actually burst that bubble where we do know that Naughty Dog hired, I forget his name, but he was the person who created the Battle Pass for Fortnite. So clearly, Naughty Dog knew they were going to have to support the game. They had plans for a Battle Pass and everything else. I just wonder if maybe Bungie showed them no, oh, you wanted to do a Battle Pass once every 6 months or something, like twice a year. It's no. You got to do it every 2 months, something like that. I don't. That's what we heard. I believe it was Jason Schreier who said that Bungie just told them what it's going to take to run a live service, and I think Naughty Dog just kind of woke up and realized that they're in over their head. We're like, wait, how are we going to make our single player games if we need to make that much content? And that's why I always made the argument that well, you know what? Maybe just release the multiplayer game and that's it. Maybe just update it every couple of months with something small or just balancing changes. It would die, unfortunately, and maybe that's why they were we shouldn't we shouldn't go through with this. But if we're being a bit conspiratorial here, which we like to do, and that's what I did as well for a long time, and it still could be true, it very well could be that Bungie did come in and was this isn't, this isn't going to succeed as a live service. And maybe they told Naughty Dog that. Maybe Naughty Dog panicked. I mean, I just think that what has become clear is that at some point, I feel like Neil Druckmann woke up screaming in the middle of the night, realizing that, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to make Intergalactic. I'm not going to be able to make The Last of Us Part 3 because this is going to be all I do now. And he basically had to call Jim Ryan in the middle of the night or call somebody, Herman Hulst, cancel this game right now. We're not doing this. I mean, it just seems to me that Naughty Dog had this ambition that they realized we can't do. Like, we literally can't do this. We don't have the bandwidth to do this. But yes, I will never. Eventually, I'll get over it, but it's going to be a long time. I don't even want to talk about it, man. Like, I cannot believe we're not getting a multiplayer Last of Us experience, dude. Scuba Tank, filled with farts, a member for 18 months. Thank you for that long-time support, buddy. Says lots of Extraction players have an issue how Bungie has had mainly closed tests to their current player base, mainly. Arc had 6+ open beta tests with anyone. And that's interesting. I didn't realize there was that much of a disparity between the way they handled their testing. I don't know why Bungie's being so secretive about the alpha testing of Marathon. The only thing I can figure is that they definitely are scared to a degree. Like, they have a certain level of fear where it's like, why else would they not? It could be also Sony. We have to keep in mind that maybe Sony's PR team is like, listen, we really want to keep this as under wraps as possible because we can't suffer any more damage. We have to kind of go dark. And to be honest, after the plagiarism scandal, I feel like at that point it's like, yeah, we need to just kind of go in the shadows and go away for a while. And maybe that's why. Because I don't understand why they wouldn't want to have that public feedback, why they're making players sign NDAs. I think that's a fair criticism because that's just not normal. It also could be Sony where they're like, we are so scared after what happened to Concord. We don't want nothing out there. I mean, apparently Sony did a secretive NDA'd playtest of Fair Games on the PlayStation Network. And that NDA must have been pretty dead serious because not a single thing leaked. Like, we have not seen a single sliver of footage leak. So I think that's, we all have to keep in mind that Sony has this fear now where it's like they're shook, they're rattled, and they should be because they went out there and they're like, we know what we're doing. Concord's the next big thing. It's our own Star Wars. And then they found out real fast that we have no idea what we're doing in this space. So we thought we knew. And fired as Capcom's lawyer saying if Bungie hypothetically did make those decisions to shutter games, wouldn't it make Sony look even more idiotic, letting them dictate what they do? That was the big concern when we talked about that. We were freaking out because that's what it seemed like on the outside. And the more I think about it, the more I'm like, yeah, that actually doesn't really make much sense, does it? But that would be idiotic, right? Where it's like, why would you there was this whole idea that Sony had more faith and trust in Bungie than they did Naughty Dog. And I mean, there's a chance that is true, maybe. Again, we have to remember all this went down when Jim Ryan was the head of PlayStation and the CEO of PlayStation. Maybe Jim really did not trust any of Sony's internal studios when it comes to live service. There's also a little bit of, I guess, this idea that Jim Ryan kind of forced some of the studios, where one of the things that Jason Schreier definitely has a lot of connections at Naughty Dog, and I'm sure he knows like what actually went down and at any time could write a report on it, but probably is choosing not to do it for reasons. But I remember made it sound like a couple years back that some internal PlayStation studios were not very happy that they kind of had to work on live service games. And I just wonder if there's a potential scenario where Jim basically told Neil Druckmann and Naughty Dog, like, guys, listen, you can make Intergalactic, but you have to make a live service Last of Us. Like, if you're not going to do it, we're going to give it to somebody else. So you choose. And then, Naughty Dog, with how precious they are about The Last of Us, they're like, okay, we'll do it. because I just find the timing of the cancellation so interesting. Literally, I think Jim Ryan announced his retirement. Unless somebody correct me if my timeline is completely off. It might be, but I could have swore like those two things happened very close to one another. Like at one point you had Jim Ryan saying I'm retiring, and then everybody was like, did he get fired? What's going on there? And then not that long after we find out that The Last of Us Online was canceled. And it just seemed like these things were kind of, you can connect the dots. And I wonder if Jim basically just put a ton of pressure on PlayStation's internal studios, where it's like, you got to cook and you got to pitch the live service games. He put the pressure on Herman, make sure they're making the live service games. And, it could have been that situation where it's just like half those studios or most of those studios didn't even want to be working on that stuff. But I don't know. I don't know, man. It's just, the thing I do know, though, is I will never forget when it was announced that Sony acquired Bungie. And I remember reading the press releases. And let me tell you, man. Let me tell you. Sony, specifically Jim Ryan, again, I'm not trying to place all the blame on him. Jim Ryan did a lot of good things. He also did a lot of not so good things. He was enthralled with Bungie. He really believed Bungie. He did go on record saying that he believed the Bungie acquisition would be better than Microsoft's acquisition of ABK. And even then, it's like, bro, what are you saying right now, man? Like that sounds like somebody coping real hard. And I don't just throw that term around, but it's like, what do you mean? He's like, oh, it'll be more valuable. And I'm like, what? Like, I mean, I'm not understanding the logic here. And it's proven to be anything but. It's proven to be anything but valuable. And yeah, there you go, Irfan. You're saying Jim Ryan retired on September 27th, 2023. The Last of Us multiplayer was canceled December 14th, 2023. Dude, see, that's what I'm saying. Those things have to be connected. I refuse to believe they're not, because the timing of those things happening within a few months of one another is like, bro, come on now. But I'm not trying to make it seem all doom and gloom. It's just we're kind of, I guess, recounting everything that happened this generation in terms of Sony wanting to do live service. And almost everything we just discussed is now water under the bridge. So at this point, I don't want to see Marathon fail necessarily. I don't want to see it be the next big thing necessarily either, just because, well, there's no real benefit for me there. What I want to see is Marathon be a product ultimately that feels like, okay, well, the Bungie acquisition wasn't a complete waste, right? It wasn't all bad. We have this one little, if not bright spot, just this one area that is lit up a little bit where some people are enjoying it, and it's, it's getting a little bit of recurring revenue for Sony. They can be happy with that, like they're getting with Helldivers now, and that's fine. And it's like, okay, so we have that diversity where there's some multiplayer offerings, and we're still getting the single-player games with Wolverine and Saros and Intergalactic, and that's it. I don't want to see another Concord situation, because the thing about Concord, because I've seen quite a few people, they are making it seem like this is about to be what happens again. I don't think that's going to happen. I really don't. I would be shocked. If we're looking at it like a Concord 2.0 situation with Marathon, I would be truly perplexed, where it's like, okay, I don't understand anything anymore. But the thing about Concord is we kind of needed that to fail. Like, that was necessary. Did it have to fail that bad? No, but it was necessary because Sony needed to learn, unfortunately, the hard way, that, like, you guys are in this bubble of delusion where, I don't know if you're just high off of Helldivers 2 or what, but this is not what your player base wants. And in fact, this is not what anybody wants. And the whole hope after seeing Concord, it's a shame it had to happen the way it did, where like the whole studio had to get shut down and, shit hits the fan. It happens though. The whole thing is like, okay, so hopefully you learned from that. You now know what not to do. And that's why I just think, well, yeah, when you look at Marathon does not really share much in common with Concord other than the fact that it's a first-person shooter. Everything about it looks vastly different. The whole gameplay loop, it being an extraction shooter, is completely different. So I'm trying to view it from a perspective of like, this is Sony trying to tap into a different genre of game, and they're hopeful that maybe it'll catch on. I just think that there's an added pressure because of the history of Bungie, because of how much Sony paid for it. That's the big difference between Bungie and Marathon and Firewalk with Concord, is Concord was a new IP, and the studio, we don't know how much Sony paid for it, but I assure you it was nowhere near how much they paid for Bungie. So, it's just, I think there's some level of hope here, but I'm not walking away from this re-reveal for Marathon thinking they got it in the bag, it's locked in. I'm not trying to discourage people either, because it's one of these things where I think you should try it if you are interested in it, like I'm going to. And I'll tell you guys, when I try this game, I will tell you what I think of it. But I'm just trying to, again, answer this question, like, is Bungie going to do it? Is this it? Are they going to win the player base over, or is it looking like it's too late? I'll tell you this. I was streaming when we found out that they put this video out and they re-revealed it. I don't know if you guys are kind of paying attention. They're being really chill right now. Like, they're being pretty low-key about this. Where, if you recall, last year, I mean, you could truly see Bungie getting humbled in real time, where they came out and they're like, Marathon reveal, tune in, it's going to be the next big thing. They had a whole in-person event or recorded event. I mean, they really hyped this thing up. And there was so much that went behind it, where you could tell, like, that's why people were thinking, like, yo, where are you guys at right now? Because people are not feeling the way you're feeling. You guys are really feeling yourselves right now. And I think a lot of that comes from, I think, the fact that Bungie knows the pressure that's on them, where like people expect big things from them. And I think this re-reveal, what I will say I appreciate about it is they are being more low-key. They're just being more grounded about it. Where it's like, here's a 20-minute, deep dive on the game. It almost feels like a state of play, to be honest. That's kind of what it feels like. And yeah, they're expressing their excitement, but they're not. It doesn't feel like they're trying to hype it, and I can appreciate that, because that, I think, was one of the big mistakes they made earlier last year when they revealed it, where they were really, or I think it was this year. Sorry, I keep saying last year. It was this year. They were really hyping it, and I could feel that, because even I was starting to kind of like, oh, okay, all right. I mean, yeah, let's see what you got, and then they show it, and it's like it's not even as bad. It's just kind of underwhelming. Like, that's it? Like, this is what all the hubbub was about? And they're like, yeah, aren't you guys excited? It's like, I don't know, man. I'm just going to go play Helldivers or Call of Duty or whatever. People are like, wait. And then the whole plagiarism thing happened. So I appreciate that they're taking a more low-key, chill stance with it. They're, I think, understanding that they need to win people back. There's 500K in the Discord. That's a lot. That is a lot. Oh, that's interesting, Irfan. You're saying that's because it was Bungie, but it's Sony now. So you think Sony has taken the reins of marketing? Yeah, it does feel like that, doesn't it? You're actually, I think, dead on with that, Irfan, because this feels exactly like how Sony markets a lot of their stuff, where they're just trying to take the approach of just put it out there, no fluff, put the blog post out. And, Sony hypes things up occasionally, but these days they really kind of don't. And there's something to be appreciated about that, but also over time it can be like, come on, Sony. MEG, what? They're literally using every superlative, another word, under the sun in almost every sentence they utter in this latest video. I mean, yeah, So you're not wrong about that. Like when you're actually watching the video, they're definitely being, I mean, what I would say, they're being hype, but they're being hyperbolic. You know, they are hyping it with the way they're describing it. However, it's hard for me to hold that against Bungie only because I feel like every studio does this with their games. And I kind of believe it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think they're trying to be egregiously like, we're the hype men. Like, they're the devs, you know? And I'm trying to look at it from the perspective of like, they are probably this hyped about it, you know? Is there a sense of they're trying to force it? Maybe somewhere, you know, with certain devs, but I do think it's one of these things where they're just trying to. I mean, at the end they were saying there was that one developer I caught what he said. He's like, what I want is for the. I guess he was talking about just gamers in general, but certainly the Bungie community to realize like we still got it, and it's here in Marathon. Don't worry, we still got it. And I like, to me that felt genuine. Like, I think that's how a lot of devs there probably feels like, guys, come on, we still got this. Don't give up on us yet. We still got this. But, you know, people are going to have to get the game in their hands. MRPD, you're saying, MBG, you should really look outside this chat. The reception and feedback is amazing for their latest Bungie video. Well, actually, I didn't read. I wanted to read some of the comments on this video. Oh, hold on. So he says, it looks like they changed the contrasting fluorescent color scheme because this was easier on the eyes, so there's hope. This comment has 729 upvotes. It says, would be nice if this is a single-player narrative-driven game. Too bad it's not, though. I mean, I do agree with that. That'd be cool if we got a single-player. Excuse me. A comment here that has 914 upvotes is somebody saying, for those who don't know, Anti-Real, the artist they stole from, said that they reached an agreement. So either they're getting paid or the art is being changed. I'm not sure. Somebody else says with 419 upvotes, they say credit where it's due. This looks like you took the feedback serious and made some great changes. Somebody here with 4 upvotes, but they say definitely a huge improvement. Another comment with 271 upvotes says players want more challenge. Dude, I want a single player experience. Now, I'm reading on the PlayStation comment section. I'm going to go check the actual Bungie video that they put out. 64 upvotes here says the difference between the comments on this video and the same one on the Marathon channel is so funny. Truly a duality of man moment. This one has 27 upvotes. I don't know. Looks neat. I enjoyed the tech test a bit. Really wish there was some sort of campaign or PvE mode. Without it, I can't justify buying it personally. At least not if it's on a deep sale. And then the last one I'll read here with 185 upvotes. They made a mistake hiring the guy from Love, Death, and Robots to make that trailer because nothing they ever do will compare to how awesome that was. And then one more here with 83 upvotes. Somebody says, so basically they needed Arc Raiders to come out, so they had a trail of breadcrumbs to follow. All right, so those were all comments that I read on the official PlayStation channel. But if I go, well, here's the official Marathon channel. So is this like Bungie's YouTube page, or do they have another one where it's just Bungie? Well, anyway, all right, this comment has 1,900 upvotes. Oh, wow, the corpse decay thing is cool. Another comment, 450 upvotes, time-stamped 14 minutes and 25 seconds. Having the see-through plastic in doorways is actually kind of genius way to balance invisibility without adding doors. Another comment with 826 upvotes. If I get to the 7th vault and I'm not being verbally harassed by Durandal, I don't know what I'd do with myself. Another comment with 1,000 upvotes says, bro, okay. Not going to read that comment. Not going to read that comment. Another comment with 1,700 upvotes says, yo, the foliage and environments look so much better. Feels like it actually looks like the short film that was made now. Another comment with 1,100 upvotes, the soundtrack still bangs. Another with 237, this looks so much better than what I first saw. Another with 729, excellent that the bodies stay in decay now. More detailed customization would be welcome too. you are a runner. Emphasizes emphasis, should be on the you. Another with 327 upvotes. Okay, I appreciate the added grittiness. It feels more like that reveal trailer they showed years ago. This comment has 3,000 upvotes. So this is, I don't know why it's so far down though, but this is by far the most upvoted comment. It says, this looks so much better than the original reveal. If this gameplay came out first, the community probably would have given a whole different reaction. Crazy to think this was supposed to be out months ago. Another comment with 1,300 upvotes. I always thought Marathon's art direction had amazing potential, but with the shift in visual direction in the game recently, it's actually constantly screenshot worthy. And I'll just read a couple more here. Another with 496 upvotes. The new corpse mechanic is so immensely better than what you had in the alpha. And let me see if there's another really upvoted one here. So here's another with 573 upvotes saying solo queue and proximity chat are great. This looks really good. And I feel like the success of arc raiders might not be detrimental to Marathon. Quite the opposite. It probably primed a lot of the audience who wouldn't be interested in extraction shooters otherwise. And it should be coming out late enough for people to start getting a bit bored with Arc. So I just read a lot of comments on the official PlayStation YouTube channel and a lot of comments on the official Marathon/Bungie YouTube channel. And there's definitely way more positivity. There's definitely way more positivity on the official Marathon page. But yeah, I mean, this is why I'm saying, like, I think this game has a real chance. I do. I think that there's people, like I said, they want to see another failure. They want to see another Concord moment. They want to see Bungie get ultra humbled, which could happen. But I like I said, I watched this 22-minute video and I'm like, it doesn't look bad. It actually looks kind of good. I don't know if I won't know if I'm sold on it till I get it in my hands and play it, but I can see the improvements they made. A lot of people see those improvements, but it's so funny to me how on the PlayStation YouTube channel, a lot of the comments are people being like, this would be great if it was single player. If it was single player, bro, will Bungie ever return to single player? I don't know. MBG, they can't say that we still got it. People decide if Bungie still got it or not. That's true. Yeah, well, the audience is going to decide. The audience is going to tell them. Like, Bungie either did it or you didn't. MBG, a question. What about Bungie's multimedia project? Do you think that still is happening or it's on ice forever? Remember they said in the acquisition blog, multimedia. Yeah, I think Bungie blew a lot of smoke up Sony's ass, dude. I'm not going to lie. I think they were like, Sony, we're going to go on this multimedia adventure with you, bro. We're going to have movies. We're going to have TV shows. We're going to have anime, the works. Trust us. And I think Sony's like, yeah. Like, just ignore the fact that, like, things are burning back here and our management is crumbling. Multimedia. I think it will still happen eventually. I just think for now it is on ice. I think the whole thing with Bungie right now is Sony reviving the studio or like rejuvenating them, or Bungie rejuvenating themselves and getting themselves to a place where it's like, yeah, man, we really gotta get back to a place that's more sustainable and stable in general before we can worry about, you know, all this multimedia stuff that we would like to do in the long run. Well, yeah, I mean, they're known for their Destiny lore, right? And even the lore in Halo, but certainly with Destiny. We will buy more cars too for our boss. Yeah, that was bad. That was bad. But yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens with Marathon. I do think that it has a chance, like I said. And I think the beta, just to reiterate what I said earlier, you know, the beta I think is going to need, it's going to need to be the pop that I think Bungie still needs. I think this video and them talking to the community and showing them we took all your feedback in, showing them, I don't say a new product, but, you know, an improved version, I guess. it seems like it's going a long way with the community, and the people who are hopeful for this game are looking forward to it. But I think the beta is going to have to be that. I think that's the make or break moment for this game. I do. And as long as it isn't some kind of truly depressing, like only 3,000 people are playing the beta or something like that, as long as it's not something truly depressing like that, I mean, you could even question if they get 15,000 people, 20,000. But I mean, again, you're talking about Bungie. I think their peak on Steam concurrent users for Destiny 2 was like 316,000 or something like that. So there's like an expectation there. They got to do something. They got to do some kind of consequential number, I think, in order for people to feel confident that this game is going to have a chance. I was thinking about that too, though. Somebody left a comment where they were like, the fact that this is going to launch after Arc Raiders, like months after Arc Raiders, you have to imagine there will be people by that point in time who are like, okay, maybe I've gotten my fill of Arc Raiders. Let me go out there and look for another extraction shooter. And maybe at that point in time, it's like, oh, well, here's that new thing from Bungie. Let's go try that. Doesn't mean it'll click, but the timing might be good. I think this also explains maybe why Saros got delayed. Because Saros was going to launch on March 20th, but then they're just like, well, actually it's going to be April 30th, which isn't a big deal. So, 1 month delay, pretty much. Not too bad. So, let's see. If we look at Sony in 2026, they got Marathon, Saros, Marvel Tokon, Wolverine, and I mean, we just found out they got Phantom Blade Zero as a timed exclusive anyway, so guess we'll see if they have anything else planned for. I mean, what is going on with Fair Games, bro? Talking about Sony's talking about their live service games. What's going on with Fair Games? How is this game, like, I'm not trying to be that negative person, but like, how is that game not canceled yet? Clearly, they still think like they could do something with it. So I'm like, what is going on? It's starting to look like they're completely reworking it, and just like, how funny would that be? How funny would it be if Fair Games got completely reworked from top to bottom, and then they re-reveal it and it actually looks awesome? Like, we've just changed it fundamentally. It's just a different game now. That'd be interesting. But guys, once again, make sure you're hitting that like button. We are close to hitting 100 likes. I'd really appreciate that. And we'll probably be streaming for, let's see here, where are we at? Probably another 15, 20 minutes, give or take. So if you guys want to drop any more support, we're sitting at 10 members on the day. If you want to contribute to add to that goal, maybe see if we could get to the 25 before we're up here, feel free to do so. Super chats, direct donations. Feel free to support the channel if you so desire. All right, I'm going to go head over to the chat now. So I'm looking at the poll. A lot of you guys here are not going to be playing Marathon. Almost 50% of the votes anyway. We got like 208 votes. 49% are saying no, they're not going to play it. 25% saying yes. 26%. So it's pretty much split. Split between 50% saying no and 50% saying yes, or they're not sure yet. What is this, Irfan? Oh, that's interesting. A Call of Duty leak. Charlie Intel, Call of Duty 2027 does not take place during the late 1990s / early 2000s. It's a new franchise set in the modern era. Charlie Intel put out a new tweet which contradicts Ghost of Hope's rumor that Call of Duty 2027 will be set in the late 1990s / early 2000s. It is now alleged to be in the modern era, which lines up with earlier rumors / reports about the game. We've heard that Sledgehammer Games' 2027 Call of Duty title does not take place during this era. I'll be honest, I didn't even know that there was a report claiming that it took. That's Call of Duty 2027. Okay, so that's not even next year's. I guess it makes sense. I guess it makes sense why people are going to be curious what the next Call of Duty era is going to be, because Black Ops seems to be done for a little while. Modern Warfare is next year. That'll be done. You're saying there is no Call of Duty next year? No, apparently there's going to be Modern Warfare 4. That's what we've been hearing. Jack, you're saying I voted no on Marathon because I don't play multiplayer games. I don't even have interest to play Battlefield 6 or Arc Raiders. And that's totally fine. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people where they don't. My whole problem with multiplayer games these days with live service games is if I find a game that I really like, I get too addicted to it. And that can be problematic because it stops me from playing other things I want to play. I inherently do like multiplayer experiences. I've learned that I like finite multiplayer experiences better than the never-ending, we want you to make this game your job type thing. And I know that's antithetical to the success of a lot of these studios and these publishers and even what a lot of other gamers want. But yeah, I prefer things that feel like they have a kind of end to them. That's why I was playing that Fox Hunt multiplayer. I'm pretty much almost done with that, where I've done everything I could do in that Metal Gear multiplayer mode, and they're not adding anything to it. They did abandon it, and it is kind of sad, where I'm like, it is sad that they're not going to offer anything more. But I can also kind of respect the fact that I put 45 hours into the single player, and then I added another like 100 hours into this multiplayer mode that is telling me, like, play it for as long as you want. We'll give you like 100 levels to go through, and you can unlock different rankings. And when you get your fill, you can put it down and you're done. If you really wanted to, in this Fox Hunt multiplayer mode, you can do everything literally where there's nothing else to do except just play the game. And I kind of miss that a little bit. I'm like, it's kind of cool. It's cool to experience a game that's like just telling me like, it's okay. We're not going to keep asking you to come back. Just play for as long as you want and then go. It feels so strange to be playing an experience like that in the year 2025, because I feel like that just literally doesn't exist anymore. And it kind of makes me wish we had more of that, just a little bit more. But it's unlikely. Raven, you're saying with fun multiplayer, you'll always have a new experience. You don't know what's going to happen. Yeah, I mean, I've definitely gotten my fill of multiplayer games over the years, and I still do now. But I think about that game Dead by Daylight and how I was introduced to that game in 2021, and I got helplessly addicted to it, where I'm like, dude, playing as the killer is so fun. And then, Mrs. MBG started playing. We'd have like our nightly gameplay sessions, and it was a really good time. And it's my most played game on my PlayStation. When you look at your top played games, it's number one at like 1,560 hours. And I'm like, I don't know if I should feel good about that or not, but it just goes to show that like, that's what a really addictive multiplayer game can do to you, where it's just like, you're playing it for years. And I did spend money on that game too. I remember when they did the Resident Evil collaboration, I was like, I'm buying that, like they got me, dude. They really got me. And I'm like, you can see how this formula and this model absolutely works in terms of how to maximize player retention, which should ultimately translate to recurring revenue through players continuing to buy more things. And I can't blame any studio for wanting to look at that as that's the future of our studio. That's how we secure our future, where if we can make a successful live service game, that's at least 10 years, at least like 5 years. 5 years, we're good. 10 years, maybe even then we're good. Maybe if you're the lucky few, going beyond 10 years. So it's understandable, there's logic there. There's proof that it can work. It does work. But if you fail, it's not pretty. Certainly not. What's my favorite PS1 game? I'm actually not sure. I mean, my gut answer to that is Spider-Man. I loved Spider-Man. I played the crap out of that game, dude. I'm sure there's others, but that's like the first one. I remember like Resident Evil 2. The problem with Resident Evil 2 is I was too scared to play it. I was too scared. Speaking of Dead by Daylight, they're removing the Michael Myers DLC in 2 weeks. Oh, what do you mean? They're removing it from purchase? You'll still have access to it if you bought it, I assume. I guess their contract must be up, because if I'm not mistaken, that DLC came out in 2016. So I guess it's like a 10-year contract or something. MRPD, you're saying you're still playing Fox Hunt. I picked it up yesterday again. It took 2 to 3 minutes to find a match. They really need a new map or a new mode. Still an amazing time, though. Yeah, I am still playing it a little bit, but less and less. One of the reasons I'm playing it less is because, I'm sitting there waiting for like 5 minutes at a time, sometimes longer, to just get in a single match. And it's especially egregious if you're the first one eliminated. Then you just got to sit there for like another 5 or 10 minutes. It is it's a fun mode though, man. Like, it is fun. They really did a good job with it. It's a shame that it has to end this quickly, because I think they could do more with it if they wanted to, but I'm still grateful because, like, building up to the release of Metal Gear Delta, I wasn't expecting anything. You know? And so when they were like, here's this multiplayer mode, I'm like, that just gave me an extra 100 hours of this game of replayability. So I'm thankful for that. This is a problem, though, for all gamers because we're so conditioned to have new things within 2 to 3 months. Yeah, that's true, too. For all we know, they are planning to update it, but it's just like, guys, we need a little bit more time. We got like a skeleton crew working on this. That's possible as well. You have to admit, though, MRPD, it's very different, right? Like, who in 2025 has the balls to release a finite multiplayer mode for their single player? Who's doing that? I can't imagine Konami's literally the only one. There has to be at least another game. But the reason is it's so different. That's why I love it so much. It is. Dude, yesterday I had the craziest match, bro. You know that the game mode intrusion where you have to shoot the ducks and stay in the zone? Bro, we were in like phase 3. There were still like 5 people alive. My buddy's dead. Just me. And the zone, I'm in the forest area. And the zone's right there. There's 2 guys running around, you know, hovering over it like hawks. And I got my my grass camo on. And I'm like just slowly, like every time they look away, like I'm inching closer to it. And they don't notice me yet. And I'm like, man, I'm just going to try to get my head into that zone. Because if I can do that and I don't move, I might be able to make it. Because I was outgunned. Like I only had a pistol, a silenced pistol. So I go up to it and I'm secure. I'm in the zone. I'm safe. But I'm like, man, I hope somebody comes around and starts fighting these guys. Because if not, they're gonna notice me any second now and light me up. And then 2 other players jumped in and there's this chaotic battle. They're throwing grenades and stun grenades and shit's hitting the fan. And there's a 10-second countdown going on. And in the last 3 seconds, I just like popped up for a split second and I just shot like one dude one time, single round, and it killed him. And then I just like popped back down like nothing even happened. And then later in that same match, it was just me against the last 2 guys. And these guys were lighting me up. They were taking me out. I couldn't even move. I couldn't breathe. I had like nothing. So by the end of it, I ended up picking up this fully decked out shotgun that somebody had dropped. And I was like, okay, I got like 15 seconds. I'm just going to rush into the zone. I'm just going to rush in and see what happens. The one dude panicked, started throwing these poison grenades. The poison grenades release this gas in a zone where if you stand in it, you'll die pretty quickly. Bro just offed himself accidentally. I'm like, okay. That was like the funniest shit I've ever seen. He was like panicking so hard. I don't know why. It's like, dude, it's me against 2 of you guys. Why are you panicking? But I guess he was just feeling the pressure. And he just, he dropped these gas grenades and he just laid there and just took himself out. And then the other guy, I was like, well, good thing I got the shotgun. I blasted him, knocked him down, pump 3 more rounds into him, and yeah, I mean, Irfan, pretty much. And I was dying laughing, dude. Like, I was dying laughing because my buddy was watching me win that round, and I'm like, I can't believe I won that. That was like a true multiplayer gaming moment. You know, it's like, you know, they say in Battlefield, like they have the Battlefield moments. It's like a Metal Gear moment, dude. It was like a Metal Gear ass moment. And I guess I'm just highlighting this because that experience I had is truly unique to that multiplayer mode where, and I said to my buddy when I was done, like, what I just did in this game, you can't do this in any other game. You can't. Like, you can't run around, not even run around, but you can't like crawl around sneaking in a grass suit, trying not to be seen. And that's why I think like it's the genius of this mode where it actually captures what Metal Gear is, where you can be sneaky, you can be stealthy, and you can kind of sneak your way to success. But you can go crazy and start lighting shit up too if you need to. So it's a good time. It's going to be sad to see this game go, but I had fun. All right. Where are we at here? Let's see. We got like 4 more minutes. They need to remove one zone in the first phase because everyone always survives it since they put enough for everyone. Yeah, it kind of feels strange that they do that. I guess it's to make everybody feel like, see, you did something. You did something, buddy. But guys, I think this is where I'm going to wrap up today's stream. Pretty much covered what I needed to cover with the marathon re-reveal and reacting to that video, giving my thoughts on it. But I'm going to segue to my outro now. And so I'm going to actually end this poll as well so you can see the results. But guys, I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. Thank you for watching live if you hung out with me. If you watch later on because you can't tune into the live streams, thank you for that viewership and that support as well. I also want to thank anybody who dropped any member gifts today. Certainly helps. And again, if you are a channel member, we're going to be doing a Morning with the Missus Christmas special on Thursday morning. Okay? So keep that in mind. And also want to thank everybody who dropped any super chats or direct donations. We're completely fan funded here. You guys are the sponsors of the channel. I can only do what I do because you make it possible. So thank you. Thank you guys so much. And also want to give a shout out to Devil Shooter, who does the timestamps for the streams. If you guys see him with those timestamps in the comments, give him some thanks, show him some love. I know he appreciates it. Devil Shooter, thank you for what you do, man. And that's going to do it, guys. So we should be back here tomorrow with another stream. And like I said, we'll be here Thursday with that members content, and we'll see where we go after that. But guys, please enjoy the rest of your day. And hit that like button as you're heading out. That'll help the stream as well. And that does it. Guys, enjoy the rest of your day. I will catch you in the next one. Till then, take care, everyone.